Welcome to the Lo-Fi High Inspire Work Your Way Vodcast, a collection of interviews from people all over the world who are living a little and a lot outside the box so that they can work their way in the hope that it inspires you to find ways to work your way. Okay, we're here in Talum in Mexico and speaking to Katie, who's just up sticks her life from San Fransisco to move here to Talum at least for 2 months, but Mexico for how long?
Well, so 2 weeks here in Talum,
right.
2 months in Mexico in total.
Yep.
And then I go for 2 months back to my home state of Montana. And then from there, TBD.
Right. Yeah. So let's go back a few steps and work out what happens. So actually first, let's just talk about the kind of work that you do. Sure. And that you're working on, just in terms of, that it's not just you've gone on holidays. That's not the point of this series. The point of this series is you can actually keep doing work that's meaningful to you and purposeful, and also do it in creative ways. So, what's the kind of work that you do? Let's paint a picture of where you were at work-wise.
Sure. So my job title is Director of Customer Analytics. I have 10 years of experience in business intelligence and analytics. I now work in the software space, but I've worked in, you name it, kind of function and kind of company over the last 10 years. The company that I work with now is in AI, so specifically taking all of the cutting edge AI stuff that we hear about in the news every day, ChatGPT, all of these kind of scary buzzwords, but really interesting things that are top of mind for researchers and journalists.
Which I think I'm going to digress at the end at some point and ask you a few questions about AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Because you were talking about that you're dealing with it where the AI is doing the customer service, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got to see how do the humans feel about the AI.
Exactly. So my role within customer analytics and customer experience is really helping our customers, who are companies that have hired us to help automate their support for their company, whatever they are, usually selling something on the internet is our typical sweet spot. It's my job to come in and help diagnose, is that working or not, with data.
And so you're analyzing the data, but you're also communicating with the humans?
Yes, exactly.
So you're interfacing with the humans?
Yeah.
Okay,
and typically as the director, interfacing with the ones that are not very happy with us.
Okay, with the unhappy humans. No wonder you wanted to move to Mexico.
A lot of working within customer experience is figuring out where the customer experience is going wrong and trying to troubleshoot and fix and improve it and put in various plans between, the company that I work for and the company that has contracted us to figure out, how do we solve that? What can we do to make it better?
So in normal terms, when you're doing that work, are those customers, now I'm going to imagine that they're all around the world anyway?
Yeah.
Okay, so and a lot of it's online because you're working in that digital space. So you had the luck, in a sense, of having a job that didn't require. Did you have a physical team in San Fran you were working with? No.
So even more lucky, the company that I work for is Canadian.
Okay.
So they're based, the majority of our headcount are based in Toronto. There are maybe 5 of us that live in California overall, but the company is fully remote as a policy, and we get together for 2 conferences per year where the whole company comes into Toronto to get that FaceTime. But other than that, it's me and a screen.
So you were remote anyway.
Yeah, fully remote.
Okay, so great. So that made it kind of easy enough for you to convince the team, then to convince your...
Well, so the other interesting thing, our company actually, because the real hurdle for United States and Canadian companies is to having their employees live and work anywhere, is the tax liability. So that's it. That's why they care where you are, is because they have to pay payroll tax where you are working.
So has that been okay? So let's talk logistics, because that's an interesting thing I hadn't thought of. So in your case, your company has your company now got to deal with? Are you employed in Mexico in that case, or are you still employed in the
States? So I'm still employed through California, and what it will mean is when their payroll tax comes due, they have to do something slightly more complicated. But that's all worked out. Like our legal team and our HR team worked out this policy during COVID when this was really, really common.
Yes.
And everybody could work from anywhere, and also because both the U.S. but especially Canada is such a high prevalence of immigration. People wanted to go home to where they were from
with their families
and work from there. So the company had to figure out, well, how do we make this work? How legally?
Yeah.
For their perspective. So they put a 10-week cap on it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because then if you're under that in any country, you're not liable.
Okay, great.
So that's some of the
tip for people.
That's some of the details there. Is like, it is, you do have to have all of that arranged.
Yeah.
Legal has to kind of know what you're doing. But as long as all of that's fine, then...
So that's probably more for people if you're working for an employer, which a lot of my people are working for themselves, so they might not have those logistics. But it is a good thing to bear in mind is what do you need to tie up if you're earning your income based in another country. So do look into that. Good tip.
And what I did for my own kind of personal sanity is, like, when I did my taxes this year, I looked to go and see, is there any place on here where I would have to say that I have a residence somewhere else? And the answer for me was no. So for me, there's no issue.
Yeah.
It's only if you were trying to pay different taxes.
And I guess that'll depend country to country as well. Yeah. It's going to be really particular to the country.
It's really complicated and boring, unfortunately. But if you have a friend or friend of the family that is, does anything with law, call them up. That's what I did.
Okay, so good tip. Good tip is do get your legal ducks in a row before you up sticks and start working for another country. So logistically, so we sort of said, all right, so there was legals. You didn't really need to organisationally. It wasn't an issue. And I think this is something that has really opened things up for people, like whether you're running your own business or whether you're working for someone else. I think COVID really had a big gift to people who wanted to change the structures of how they work, like whether that's from having your kids, there while you're working. Like, I think that became more normal, flexible working hours, work from home. I think there was already a lot of data that said work from home actually got better outcomes already pre-COVID, but it was really hard for workplaces to get on board that. But now workplaces have started to understand actually there's some real benefits, like in having people work remotely, both in terms of productivity and in terms of the cost of running the business. So we are lucky in a sense that we've all started getting used to that. And even that idea that anyway you were dealing with customers that were in other time zones anyway. So let's go logistics in terms of, like, apart from the legals, what other logistics have you had to consider in order to be able to work remotely?
The big thing was, do I keep a permanent, apartment in San Francisco and pay rent there at premium price?
Yep.
Or what? Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
So I decided to go for or what, which is put everything into storage.
Okay,
so
amazing.
Hired movers to come, put everything into storage 4 days ago, by the way.
Yes.
So this is
new.
Very recent.
Yeah.
So did that because that will be much cheaper, and it's on a flexible, I've moved into a month-to-month agreement. So I don't know when I'm going to conclude this phase of my life, so that made that really easy. Packed all of the things that I might need to my parents' house.
Did you downsize at all?
I sold loads of things.
Yeah.
Yep. Sold a lot of furniture. Fortunately, when I moved to San Francisco, I moved in with other people, so they had most of the house kind of set up. But sold a lot.
How did that feel? Like letting go of things? Because I think for a lot of people who are going to try these different structures,
well, if you
whether you downsize,
if you haven't done it before, it's really hard. Fortunately, I've done it before, and so actually I find buying things and owning furniture to be a bit anxiety-inducing because it ties you to somewhere. Yeah. And so coming back to this is I've lived out of a backpack before. Yeah. So that part's a little less daunting for me than it might be for other people. When I did it the first time, I don't know, I think what helped me at that stage was kind of leaning into the minimalism movement.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched it, The Minimalists on Netflix, it's now a really, like, it's probably almost 10 years old now. I don't want to think about that.
It's been a while. Yeah.
But they're a couple of guys, one of whom is from Missoula, Montana, which is really close to my hometown. So there's like a connection there.
Yeah.
But who basically go around and interview people that have downsized their life. And that really inspired me to be like, can I live out of a backpack?
Yeah.
And I did for 9 months. So now coming and doing it for 2 months, it's like, okay, I know I can do that.
I think that's a great thing too, and that's part of what this series is about. For me, is to just say, not to say it's your situation's going to be the same, but that when you go out and you see how other people have done it, like the minimalists, and we can take bits and pieces from different people's setups. So whether like you won't, all the elements that it takes for someone to work remotely won't be the same person to person. But I think it's great when you can find some inspirations like that, like. I know when I moved into tiny housing and working in that, I got really big into living big in tiny houses. It's a New Zealand TV series, and that just gave me so many ideas, and it let me see how other people were living that. So, like it's really good, like whether it's watching these videos, watching the minimalists, speaking to other people who've done it, is it just can start breaking down those barriers of what's involved and what that might look like.
And what do you really need to get through a week of life?
Yeah.
It's really not that much. And a lot of the places, like, coming to Mexico, really, it's like, oh, surely I forgot something. Well, it's Mexico. Like, there's the grocery store right down the road. You're going to be able to pick up anything that you need. As long as you got your passport, anything that you need to do your job and yourself.
So anything you need to do for your job, in your case, what did that look like?
So, of course, a laptop. I need that. And I actually had a moment a few months ago where I, for the first time since the start of COVID, actually worked outside of my home. So I had gotten very used to being in my kitchen with my multiple different monitors because I do, I code, I have calls, all of this, and realized if I go to a coffee shop and I try to code, I'm going to drive myself crazy. So I actually bought a second portable monitor, really lightweight, $100. And
where did you find that?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, Amazon people.
$100.
So that would be the same for people like that. So people who are coders, but also graphic designers. I know that graphic designers, illustrators, like just that ability to have that extra screen.
Like having to be like after getting used to the opposite. Like I went years without having a second monitor, and now with COVID, suddenly it was like, oh, well, now I have to all of that. So it was. That was a no-brainer.
How much does it weigh, all of that equipment?
Oh, well, I mean, the laptop's heavy. It's it's standard 13-inch MacBook. So what's that, a couple kilos?
Yeah.
And then the monitor is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly worry about breaking it in half. That's how light it is. Yeah. So that was a no-brainer from a weight perspective because you're already toting that laptop around.
How are you doing your phone calls and all of that? Like what technology are you using in order to manage calls with customers?
Yeah, so all of that won't change. We use Google Meet or whatever the customer prefers if they're hosting us on their software.
Yeah.
So that won't change. The only thing needed for that is just a really strong Wi-Fi connection and then good for picking up audio, good headset.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. So as far as the Wi-Fi thing goes, because I think that can be a big thing, how do you manage, I mean it's early days for you because you haven't done it, but like have you preemptively, like have you made a plan for what will happen? Because if you're in countries like Mexico, and I know like a lot of my people, they might be picking somewhere like Mexico or Costa Rica or Southeast, like places in Southeast Asia, and the reality is, man, you can move to the north coast of New South Wales. Same thing, Byron Bay, the internet will drop out. So there has to be some kind of backup plan. How do you plan to manage that? Have you, or is that you don't know yet?
So, I mean, the first thing is looking for places that have been reviewed strongly on Airbnb or another website as having good Wi-Fi. So looking for other reviewers. Yeah. So that's how I found here, was because the Wi-Fi is highly rated. Of course, it is still Mexico, so who knows what's going to happen. I did upgrade my mobile phone plan before I came, and all of these services Google Meet, Zoom,
Yeah.
WebEx, you name it, have a dial-in number.
Okay.
From anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Because that's what that technology is for.
Do you do a local SIM card or a local
I haven't,
thing? Or
but
you're just doing...
this is an American thing where there's an all-in bundle that you can get for Canada, Mexico, US.
Okay.
But you could get a local SIM, and then
and
you would dial in from the local Mexican number, and you just have to look at what that is. That's what this technology is for. And then
presumably also, you could also presumably have that as a backup to tether to their...
Yeah, so data tethering is another option. That's restricted on my plan, so that's why like my default for being on calls, where I don't need my face to show, which frankly is all of them. Yeah. But like... Yeah. Where that's the case, then the phone will be more reliable because, or is my guess. That will be my first choice, is to call. So,
okay, amazing. So that's like heaps of technological solutions.
Yeah.
Tell me, were there any kind of emotional or social kind of hurdles you needed to jump before you made this choice, and maybe even what was it that initiated that? Like, why did you decide to kind of pack up your San Fran apartment and go traveling? So that's sort of two questions.
Yeah. Okay.
But maybe tangled.
Yeah. So really, out of just two things: wanting to shake up my life to try to kind of reinvigorate it with more balance. I am definitely a workaholic. Yeah. And COVID was really bad. It pushed me in the wrong direction of life balance, where with not having to leave my home and not have anything anywhere else to do. At that point in time, I was living in a really not very nice part of San Francisco where I didn't really want to go outside. Yeah. I would go weeks at a time just working. That was it. That was my only thing. Yeah. And I got to... my third birthday that I celebrated in San Francisco, and I was like, if I have to do another one of these that's kind of sad, where I haven't met the people that I had hoped to connect with because I'm just working by myself inside my kitchen, I think I'm going to be really upset with myself. And so coming into New Year, I actually had a chance to go and travel with a really close friend of mine who I used to work with 7 years ago. And she does this. She's based in London, but she goes kind of periodically for about 2 months at a time to different places. And she's a freediver. So she will work. She has the same job as me. Okay. For a very different company, but like same role internally.
Logistics too.
Yeah. And so just watching her, she's been doing this for 2 years. Yeah. Okay. So that was kind of my inspiration was, well, what if I went and did what Susie is doing? Yeah. How might that change my setup? Because I also noticed like she's equally successful to me, but is somehow managing to balance her life in a way that is really fulfilling, and she's pursuing this amazing sport. Yeah. So that was kind of my inspiration was, okay, let's I'm curious about this, but the switch from I'm curious about this to I gotta effing get off my butt and do this was okay. It was kind of that almost a New Year's resolution thing of just if this time of year rolls around and I haven't made a change, I think I'm going to have let myself down. Yeah, and feeling a real accountability to myself. To not have that happen. And I felt that before. Yeah. When I lived in London and I decided to leave, there's a lot of parallels to that. So it's listening to yourself.
I agree. And I think that's something a lot of the work that I do, the foundational work I do with my clients first is we spend some time actually just before we take any action, really listening. But then a lot of the time this is something that comes up. People recognize that they want a different structure, or they want more freedom, or they don't want to work in these ways, but they feel but I can't, or that's not realistic. And I guess that's a motivation behind doing this, is to say it's as realistic as you're willing to make concessions for, no, you're not going to have your many monitors, and you're not going to have your things around you, and you're not going to have that predictability, but you're going to be listening to what your heart's telling you, which is this isn't working, or this isn't the dream, and there are other things I want to have in my life, which you said as well is the freediving.
Yeah, so I'm going to learn it's all an experiment.
Yeah.
But yeah, inspired by this friend of mine, I'm going to check out what is that all about?
Yeah.
Is that something that might kind of inspire me to go in a different direction?
Yeah.
And take me to, whatever chapter might come
Yeah.
after all of this. Who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it can be just to add another element in, or it can be to test the waters to see if you want to change direction.
Yeah. It's all an experiment, and I'm really trying to go into it with that mindset of, test it out, see if it works.
Yeah.
And then, some things that are going to work for some people might not work for others.
Yeah.
So, this really worked for her. I'm going to see if it works for me. It might not.
There's
might need
a
to
great
make a change.
TED talk by Tim Ferriss where he talks about fear setting, which is that thing which is really like, give it a go. What's the kind of basically worst case scenarioizing it all, just to say, well, what's the worst that's going to happen, and
Exactly.
let's give it a go. And for you, the more worst outcome was that you were going to wake up January 1st next year and say, fuck, I've done nothing. I've done nothing
I'm
different.
still by myself in my kitchen working.
Yeah.
So many hours for why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got this other niggling excitement there. So, so I think that's like really important. How did, so we know that your workplace was pretty cool about, how did friends and family feel when you made that call?
Yeah, I laugh because I have lovely octogenarian grandparents who just, they don't get it at all. Like, they've essentially, I have a dear younger sister who is also unmarried in her 30s.
Yeah.
And so Gran has totally given up on either of us ever, like, going the traditional route. So that's helped in a way. Like,
she'd already given up on your bike.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So there's some freedom. There's some freedom
Amazing.
to that. And my parents, honestly, they are the best. They are just like, we just want to be supportive of whatever you decide to do. And I left half of my belongings at their house.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, we're just so happy that you'll be here to help, like to come and pick them up. And like, we're so happy to help in any way.
Oh,
so
okay, amazing.
I've really lucked out. We've been through a lot as a family. So it's kind of, trial by fire, but we've all come out the other side of like, okay, just got to accept everybody where they're at.
Yeah.
And they do. And it's
amazing.
very, very beautiful.
Okay, so
I'm
there
very
wasn't.
fortunate.
So you were lucky in a sense that really the only potential resistances were internal for you, and so it was just getting past that sense, and that's really that point at which when you know, and if you know, at some point you're going to have to take some kind of action, and it's all really completely doable, and that's heaps. That's so many suggestions. So I might write them. After this video, there was like a lot of kind of like practical tips that came through this little video, just in terms of particularly managing technology. That would be really great for those of you who have tech-based, like really heavily tech-based businesses that you're going to try and run remotely. As a side.